He wasn't lost. He was leaving. For 20 years, audiences walked out of Shutter Island, believing they had watched a broken man surrender to his delusion. That was the mechanism. That was exactly what the film needed you to believe. Because the film didn't show you a man who lost his mind. It showed you a man who found it, held it for one night, and then used it, deliberately, precisely, finally, to walk away. The most disturbing question Shutter Island never answers is the one it asked in its final sentence. And Andrew Laeddis may have known the answer before the sun came up. We'll get to that. Shutter Island. He chose it. Here is what Shutter Island was actually built to make you ignore. Every clue in this film points not to a man who couldn't come back, but to a man who decided not to. How a film about a broken man was hiding a story about a choice. Start here, the very first scene. Teddy Daniels, U.S. Marshal, decorated veteran, hard man on a hard case, cannot look at the water. The film wants you to read that as seasickness, as atmosphere, as the visual grammar of a tough protagonist being humanized. But the water didn't make Andrew Laeddis sick. The water took his children. His body was confessing before the film's title had finished fading. And the infrastructure of that confession, the mechanism by which a man hides the worst thing he has ever done, was embedded in this film from its first 90 seconds. The film gives us a procedural thriller, two marshals, a missing patient, a locked room mystery, a conspiracy that might reach all the way to Washington. It is a comfortable reading. It is a genre promise. Here are two men against a corrupt institution. Follow them, trust them, root for them. That comfort, that genre promise, is the deception. Because you were not watching a procedural thriller. You were watching one man's mind perform a procedural thriller, to avoid the only case that actually mattered, his own. Here, look at this. Not at the shock, not at the dawning horror the genre tells you to read. Look at what DiCaprio is actually doing with his face. That is not a man discovering something new. That is a man recognizing something old. The eyes don't widen the way they do when encountering the unexpected. They settle. Like something held at tension for 2 years was, for one frame, allowed to breathe. Because a man in genuine psychotic collapse, a man whose mind has genuinely shattered under the weight of trauma, does not construct a double anagram. He does not encode his dead wife's name inside his false identity. He does not leave himself a map back to the truth. The unconscious mind does not do wordplay. Andrew Laeddis built those anagrams, not his psychosis, him. Which means the part of his mind that knew the truth never fully went dark. It just went quiet. And it spent 2 years building exits. Imagine a man who knows exactly where he is, who constructed the cage himself, who kept the key on his person the entire time, and simply chose every single morning not to use it, until he didn't. What the film hid inside the frames you trusted. His name is Chuck All, new partner, easy manner, quietly loyal. The film gives you every visual signal of trustworthy companionship. He is always slightly behind Teddy, always watching, always there. That is not loyalty. That is surveillance. Chuck All is Dr. Lester Sheehan, Andrew's psychiatrist, assigned to follow his patient through the labyrinth of his own delusion. Every warmth is clinical. Every laugh is a data point. Every confidence Andrew shares is a case note. The film frames this as devoted medical care. Here is the chilling reality it suppresses. Andrew's most intimate relationship on that island, the only person he trusted completely, was performing a lie the entire time. And it wasn't just Sheehan. The entire institution was the performance. The missing patient, staged. The cryptic clue in the cell, planted. The staff's evasiveness, choreographed. Every piece of evidence Teddy gathered was evidence the hospital put there for him to find. Think about the implications of that for a moment. An institution so committed to controlling one man's reality that it drafted its entire population into the performance. Patients, staff, doctors, all of them participants in a conspiracy to make one man believe his own conspiracy theory. That is the predatory mechanism hiding behind the word therapeutic. Here, look at how she is shot. Every hallucination in this film is shot with the visual grammar of hallucination. Oversaturated, unstable, slightly wrong. This woman is shot like reality. Clean light, still camera, coherent. The film later absorbs her into the delusion, tells you she was never real, but the cinematography told you the opposite. She was filmed as a witness, then retroactively reclassified as a symptom. Because if she was real, if even one element of Andrew's conspiracy theory was accurate, then the institution's claim to be the sole arbiter of truth on that island collapses entirely. The storm arrives at the precise moment Andrew's investigation starts generating real friction. The inconsistencies are stacking, the performance is showing seams, and then the island seals. No communication, no ferry, no exit. From a therapeutic standpoint, catastrophic timing. From Andrew's perspective, from the part of his mind that was always watching, the hurricane was not a threat, it was a deadline. The island is sealed. Whatever happens next, happens here. No ferry to carry the question away, no morning commute to dull the edges. Just Andrew Laeddis, a locked island, and a mind that had been building exits for 2 years, finally running out of reasons to keep the doors closed. The night the truth arrived, and what he did with it. He was waiting, not summoned, not surprised. Waiting, seated, composed, unhurried, as though the lighthouse was always the final set piece, and he had arrived early for the performance. The film wants you to read this as a doctor who knows his patient. Here is the evidence the film suppresses. Cawley wasn't waiting because he predicted a breakdown. He was waiting because Andrew's lucidity had been signaling its arrival, in the anagrams, in the cave, in the settling of those eyes at the anagram reveal. And Cawley, the trained observer, saw it coming before Andrew's Teddy persona would admit it. The revelation at the lighthouse was not spontaneous. It was scheduled, and then the memory surfaces. 3 children, a lake, a gun, the full weight of everything Andrew Laeddis had been running from. For 2 years, inside a delusion he constructed with the architectural precision of a man who never fully lost his mind. Lands. And here is what the film does not tell you directly, but what its own internal logic demands. This is not the first time. The previous episode that led to Andrew's institutionalization, the breakdown that brought him to Ashcliff, was, by the film's own account, a prior cycle through this same memory. He has stood at this lake before, inside his own mind, and chosen, then, to walk away from it. This time, he does not walk away, not because the memory is more powerful, but because Andrew Laeddis has already, quietly, made a different decision about what comes next. Watch this. Most audiences skip over these 30 seconds. They are waiting for the Teddy regression, for the confirmation of the tragic ending. But in these 30 seconds, Andrew is not performing anything. He is alone, and he is still. That is not the stillness of a broken man. That is the stillness of a man who has reached a verdict. And then Chuck arrives, and Andrew performs the regression. Watch the performance. The Teddy of the first 2 hours of this film has authentic spontaneity. He believes his own story, every fiber. This Teddy is different. The pacing is deliberate. The eye contact has a quality that involuntary regression does not produce. Andrew is playing Teddy. He is not being Teddy. And Sheehan knows. Watch him, not Andrew, Sheehan. The exact second he understands what is happening is written in every muscle of that face. That is not a doctor watching a patient relapse. That is a man watching someone he cared for make a final, sovereign, fully lucid decision. What it means that he chose, and why that is the darkest truth of all. Which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man? That line has been quoted in every Shutter Island discussion for 15 years. It is cited as evidence of ambiguity, as the beautiful, unresolved final note of a film about the tragedy of the broken mind. It is not ambiguous, it is a closing argument, delivered to the one man in the world who will understand every word. Andrew framed his conclusion as a question for one reason, because Sheehan, as Chuck, cannot answer it without breaking the performance. By framing the verdict as a question, Andrew forced Sheehan into the only response that confirms everything: silence. And Sheehan's silence is his answer. The line was never a question. Think about what Andrew Laeddis actually did. He held the truth for one night, the full truth, unmediated, complete. His children, the lake, Dolores, the gun, the 2 years of hiding. He held it, and he did not break. He reasoned. He concluded that the truth about what he did, is survivable as information, but not as identity. He could know it. He proved that the night before. He could not be the man who knows it, because the man who knows it is the man who failed his children, failed his wife, and then put a bullet in her. The lobotomy was not punishment. It was not defeat. It was Andrew's chosen form of justice, a self-administered sentence that erased the judge along with the crime. And here is the chilling reality that the film buried under the aesthetics of tragedy. The system, the institution, required incapacity in order to proceed with the lobotomy. It needed Andrew to appear incapable of consent. And Andrew, fully lucid, fully present, fully decided, performed incapacity. He gave the institution exactly the performance it needed to do exactly what he had already chosen. The most autonomous act this man performs in the entire film is the act of appearing to have lost his autonomy. Imagine a man so completely clear-eyed about his own guilt that he dismantled the very mind that understood it, because living with that understanding felt like the greater crime. That is what the film suppressed, not the conspiracy theory, not the institutional corruption, the choice. The film ends where it began, on the water that took everything from him, and the last image is not a broken man. It is a man who looked at the water, understood what it meant, and made his peace with it, on his own terms. The infrastructure of his delusion was never the illness, it was the waiting room, the place he sat until he was ready to walk out. There is a predatory myth that runs through every story we tell about guilt and punishment, that the broken mind is the mind that cannot face the truth. Shutter Island committed the opposite truth to film, and then edited the frame just before you could name it. The most dangerous mind is not the one that shatters under what it has done. It is the one that survives long enough to decide, with complete clarity, that survival itself is the final injustice. Andrew wasn't lost in his delusion at the end. He was using it, one final time, as a door out. Here's the question this film never asks, and the one this deconstruction demands you answer. Was Andrew Laeddis a victim of a system that took his lucidity and called it relapse? Or was Andrew Laeddis the system, the final, unappealable authority on his own sentence? Drop your verdict in the comments. The audience is split on this one every single time. If this truth disturbed you, good. That means it was true. Smash like and subscribe. The Pulse Cinema has more dark truths waiting.